What's up and welcome to My Point of View. I am your fat and opinionated host, and we have talked about the declining sales of Bud Light. We have talked about how much the stock has dropped, but now the folks over at Bud Light and Anheuser Busch are faced with a new threat. A threat that will cripple their business forever. And that threat is the loss of shelf space in stores all across America. You see, these stores, they look at recent sales. So, for example, they'll look at the sales of a product within the last few months, and then they'll decide, do we want to give this product more shelf space, or do we want to give this shelf space to this product's competitors? Well, over the last few months, Bud Light and the sales of Bud Light have dropped so drastically that it looks as if right now, if things keep going this way, and all signs point towards the fact that things are going to continue going this way, as of right now, it looks like grocery stores, Walmarts, Targets, Costco's, you name it, establishments all across America that sell Bud Light are going to start giving up that shelf space, that store space, to other beers because Bud Light is not selling. Now, once this happens, it's going to severely cripple Bud Light. It's going to basically make it impossible for Bud Light to ever regain the position that it once had. Now, I want to go ahead and dive into this article, but first, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It's totally free. It takes 1 second, and it helps this channel a lot. If you haven't already, hit the like button. And if you want to take it one step further, try to reshare this video because I think it's important that we spread the word about this. Because honestly, if we can keep this boycott going as strong as it's going right now, even for just another month or two, which I think we could keep it going for longer, but if we can even keep it going for another month or two, Bud Light is going to lose shelf space. But let's go ahead and dive into this article. If Bud Light sales continue to lag, the brand risks losing shelf space at major retailers to competitors and locking in lower market share, a former Anheuser-Busch executive has claimed. In recent weeks, Bud Light sales have been down roughly a quarter from a year ago as the brand faces backlash over an April marketing deal with Dylan. Anson Frericks, the former U.S. president of sales and distribution for St. Louis-based Anheuser-Busch, said that retailers such as Walmart and Kroger typically reset their shelf space allocations in the spring and fall based on sales data. For the fall reset in September, they generally take sales data from April, May, June, and July. And then based off that data in that time period, they will reallocate shelf space, he says. If Bud Light sales continue to slump, that shelf space will be allocated to Miller Lite, Coors Light, Yuengling, and some of the other brands that have been taking the share from them. Those brands will have a better likelihood to succeed longer term because they have more shelf space. They have more inventory. They have more backstock. And they have more availability for consumers. That almost permanently then locks in this new as the new norm of where their sales will be and what their share of the beer category will be. So basically, long story short, if this happens, even if the Bud Light boycott ends the next day, Bud Light is never going to be able to recover because they already lost the shelf space. So therefore, they're not going to be able to even move the amount of beer that they need to move in order to, make a comeback. Because all of these other beers are going to be dominating that shelf space. Now, some of you may think, well, they could just sell a lot of beer and eventually they'll earn that shelf space back. That's a possibility. But keep in mind that it took Bud Light decades, years and years and years to get where it's at. Yeah, maybe they lost it all within the span of a few weeks, but they cannot gain this back within a span of a few weeks. Even if the boycott ended the day after Bud Light lost the shelf space and Bud Light sales went through the roof, that's not going to happen. But even if it did, it would take these major retailers months to react to that data. It would take them 4 or 5 months before they reacted to that data. And by that time, even if Bud Light is flying off the shelves, they're not able to regain that ground because they don't have enough shelf space to sell enough product to regain that ground. So if Bud Light even dreams of making a comeback, it would be years down the road. And by then, the damage has already been done. I don't think that this boycott is going to end anytime soon. But from the looks of it, if this boycott keeps rolling on into July, we are going to reach the point of no return. The point of no return for Bud Light, to where they have put themselves in a position that they cannot come back from. They've dug their grave and now they're going to have to lie in it. Once they lose this shelf space, it's going to be damn near impossible to regain it. For one, it's beer. People are already accustomed to buying different beer. It's not hard to break out of the habit of buying Bud Light when there's 15 other beers that taste just as good and better right there. So it's almost going to be an out of sight, out of mind type of situation. Bud Light will be in the position to where even if the boycott ends, and even if all of us decide, you know what, the boycott's over, we're all going to go buy Bud Light. That's not going to happen. But even if we did that, it still would not make a difference because they're not going to have the shelf space to stock the amount of product that they need to sell in order to make the comeback. So it's like the grave just keeps getting deeper and deeper. The hole keeps getting deeper and deeper. And we're eventually going to reach a point where the boycott doesn't even matter anymore. We're going to reach a point where, boycott or no boycott, Bud Light's not going to be able to sell the amount of beer that they need to sell. Period. And if you ask me, that is very good news. Let me know what you think about it, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell. And remember to always remain opinionated.